Hello, everybody. My name is Gage Johnson, and I'll be doing my presentation on the 2021 Chignik earthquake. This earthquake happened off the coast of southern Alaska, along two tectonic plates that are very active. So I felt like it would be interesting to do something along those lines. Um, so the Chignik earthquake happened July 29th, 2021 in Chignik, Alaska. Magnitude 8.2, which is a pretty big earthquake, I'm sure, as we all know. There was no severe damage or fatalities reported, no significant injuries, as it happened kind of in the middle of the ocean, not real close to the coast. As far as property damage, minimal damage to infrastructure, but significant seismic activity was felt across the region. And as far as the economic impact, no major economic losses, but there were evacuations and precautionary measures for the tsunami that didn't really come. So some recollection from the earthquake from people that were in Alaska at the time. Things were falling out of the cabinets and drawers were flopping open. I looked out and my car was jumping around the road. There was a lot of landslides here too, said Gene Carlson, who was in Chignik Bay when the earthquake hit. A tremendous amount of shaking. It was massive. This was the president of the native village, Perryville, which is the closest place to the epicenter of the quake. Kind of going to show you how the people there felt, and it was definitely felt, even though the death toll or the injury toll wasn't there. Here's a guy that was fishing on a boat in the ocean when it happened, saying his boat bounced up and down and shook like a concrete vibrator for about a minute. So I mean, that's a significant amount of shaking for sure. Some residents in affected areas reported a strong shaking beneath them, that caused evacuations. In Seward, which is about 90 miles away from the epicenter, sirens blared through the town and residents moved to higher ground. A few residents reported changes in their well water's color following the earthquake, which I found interesting. Overall, the community does a really good job preparing for this and being ready, as it does happen quite often in Alaska along these two plates. So this here is just a video, kind of gives you a good idea of what was going on during this time. I think this came out a day after the earthquake. So
A strong 8.2 magnitude earthquake triggered a tsunami scare in Alaska late on Wednesday. You can hear the sirens blaring here, although there have been no immediate reports of damage and the alerts were later lifted. Authorities had issued alerts for the southern parts of Alaska and Pacific coastal areas, warning residents to move to higher ground. The quake struck at 10:15 at night local time. Alaska's Governor Mike Dunleavy tweeted that the state's emergency operations center had been activated. The incident also put other Pacific countries on alert. Local media in Japan are reporting that country is not at risk, although they may experience changes in their tide levels.
so that just kind of gives you a better idea of the community and what exactly was going on during that time. So here, as good of a picture as I could find of the North American plate and the Pacific plate. But what happened really is the Pacific plate is moving underneath the North American plate here. The Pacific plate moves northwest as the North American plate is moving southwest. They get stuck for a long period of time and then they'll break, causing the Chignik earthquake, the 8.2 magnitude. Here's another video that kind of shows you the sirens and what was really going on during this time. You can kind of see, everyone evacuating their cars lined up, trying to get out, people not really sure what's going on or how big the potential tsunami will be. It wasn't very big, as I said before, but so the tectonic setting, this was an 8.2 magnitude earthquake. It was the largest earthquake in the last 50 years, which I found to be really cool. And not really talked about a lot once again because of the death toll. But it was around 28 and a half miles below the surface along the Aleutian megathrust, where the Pacific Plate sits below the North American. So kind of like I showed you guys before, a similar picture. This Pacific Plate is under the North American, and they'll get locked together, and eventually that movement is going to cause some pretty big earthquakes. So that Pacific Plate moving northwest, North American Plate southwest, going on top of the Pacific Plate. Subduction zones or subduction is occurring at an angle with the Pacific Plate diving beneath the North American Plate. This is a convergent plate boundary where thrust faults and megathrust faults are most common to happen. Now, the relative plate motion rate, sorry, is around 60 millimeters per year, which it varies along the trench a little bit, but 60 millimeters is a pretty consistent number, which is a pretty decent amount compared to some other earthquakes that we've looked at this year. As far as tectonic forces, compression forces due to plate collision, slab pull, and subduction causing deep earthquakes. Seismic uplift can also generate tsunamis in these type of instances, which the city was ready for. Cities, I should say, along the coast of Alaska. Now, the geological setting all along the Alaskan Peninsula is where it happened. As far as landforms, coastal cliffs, volcanic mountains, and volcanoes, which I really wasn't aware of before starting this assignment. But volcanic and sedimentary rocks, along with marine sediment that has formed for millions of years, to subduction rated volcanism, along with the marine deposit and tectonic uplift, is kind of what's going on as far as rock types. The plate subduction under the North American plate causes volcanism and earthquakes in this region. The earthquake occurred on a megathrust fault, which is a thrust fault at the subduction interface. These faults are capable of producing extremely large earthquakes and tsunamis that can devastate communities, as we've seen in the past. The region is part of the Aleutian subduction zone, which is one of the most seismically active areas in the world. Um, and I mean, we're not super far away being on the West Coast. Far enough, but it is sort of close. As far as some past major earthquakes, 1938, there was an 8.2, 2020, a 7.8, and of course, the Great Alaskan Earthquake in 1964, magnitude 9.2. So tsunamis, volcanic activity, and landslides, they have potential to happen in the region as they previously have before. So below here, I included some pictures from the 1964 Alaskan earthquake, which was devastating to the community. Yeah, so it kind of shows how bad it really can be if we are not prepared. Now, getting into the geological causes, so how everything really works here. Um, so the plate tectonic setting is formed over tens of millions of years. The Pacific Plate has been subducting beneath the North American Plate along the Aleutian Trench for forever. Locked fault segment accumulates stress, so it'll get locked, like I was saying before. The megathrust fault between the plates is not continuously slipping. It's mostly locked due to that friction in there. So when it's locked and it moves, it causes sudden ruptures, which is the release of stored energy. And that is what happened on July 29th, 2021. The stress exceeded the frictional resistance along the section of the plate boundary, and the earthquake occurred. So, ground shaking radiates from the epicenter. Seismic waves travel outward, causing violent ground shaking that was felt hundreds of miles away. Um, After this, the seafloor uplift triggers a tsunami. The sudden vertical movement of the seafloor displaces the seawater, generating tsunami waves, which the coast of Alaska was ready for in this instance, as we saw before with the tsunami sirens and evacuation plans for people. Luckily, The waves really didn't get to the coast, and no one was really affected by any type of tsunami. As far as human interaction, there is none. It's Alaska. They don't. I mean, it's a sparsely populated place, right? Not a lot of people and a ton of land. It's absolutely beautiful. Um, so the 2021 Chignik earthquake was not influenced by human activity. It was nothing more than a natural tectonic event. This was a deep, high magnitude megathrust event that occurred far offshore in a region that's really hardly populated. And there's no scientific evidence that human activities had any influence on triggering this earthquake. Now, the Alaskan coast has a really solid tsunami warning system, as these type of events are not uncommon. They place a large emphasis on education and readiness to avoid being caught off guard like 1964. Now, what did geologists learn from this? They learned a lot, I feel. So some key findings, according to the Alaskan Earthquake Center, were that this earthquake occurred in the same general area in 1938, finding that it was a re-rupture with seismic gaps. So I felt like that was a interesting little bit to put in. Science advances had noted that the rupture occurred around 40 kilometers in depth, making this a deep rupture that caused tsunami behavior, but none that reached the coast. And according to Science Direct, the Chignik earthquake is causing scientists to reevaluate the subduction zone for its potential to generate even larger megathrust earthquakes, which I found to be really interesting, seeing that the Chignik earthquake is causing scientists to go down there or geologists to go down and say, hey, maybe we need to reevaluate this and try to plan for potential risk and how to best protect the communities. So the government and community, what exactly did they do? The Alaska Seismic Hazard Safety Commission supported an $8 million fund to help make buildings safer, improving earthquake warning systems, and to teach the public how to stay safe during earthquakes. This is really important. Just getting the word out there and figuring out, trying to just get everyone to know of the dangers of the earthquakes and potential tsunamis. In 2024, a new bill was introduced by Senator Lisa Murkowski and Alex Padilla to update earthquake safety programs by tracking risky buildings, including tsunamis, and supporting tribal governments. Since the 2021 Chignik earthquake, over 240 aftershocks were recorded in the following days, with more than 760 seismic events through 2021. These help scientists improve earthquake predictions for residents. It shows they need to stay prepared for future risks. So, in conclusion, the 2021 Chignik earthquake, which was a magnitude 8.2, hit off the Alaskan coast, sparking strong aftershocks and tsunami warnings. While it was the biggest earthquake in the United States in years, it caused very minimal damage to people and property. The event emphasized the importance of better earthquake readiness, especially for Alaska's coastal communities. Recognizing that the Aleutian subduction zone, where the Pacific plate is subducting beneath the North American plate, is capable of producing large, powerful earthquakes, is important for safety along the coastline, and the Chignik earthquake reminded us all of that. Thank you for listening to my presentation.